Good morning everybody and welcome. Today I'm going to show you how to make cinnamon rolls. Back in the day when I lived in Texas, Austin, Texas, hi all my Texan friends, I remember tasting a cinnamon roll for the first time and I just thought I had died and gone to heaven. Absolutely delicious flavors going on. And down through the years I've learned to make them myself. So first thing I've done is put 500 grams of flour into my mixing bowl. Now, here's the thing about the flour. If you can't get the Polish flour that I keep talking about, actually I'm going to show you the flour that I keep talking about because I think I keep forgetting to show people what that looks like. This is my Polish flour. You can get it in most Polish shops. If you can't get this, look for Italian type 00 flour. They're doubly sieved flour, so they're really light and fluffy. Now they're not a strong flour, so it's not great for making bread, but for something like this which is enriched with egg and butter, it's totally brilliant. It's lovely and light and fluffy. If you can't get this and you can't get the type 00, use strong flour. Okay, so I have my 500 grams of flour in here, and here I have, is it 225 ml of warm milk. I'm using fresh yeast today. So I have 15 grams of fresh yeast. I showed you in my pizza dough recipe what that looks like. Kind of looks like putty. And I'm going to put in a teaspoon of sugar in here as well, because you need sugar to get the yeast to activate. However, if you don't have fresh yeast, just use one sachet of dried yeast, which is about 7 grams. Pop it straight in here and pop in your butter and sugar. I have, let me check what they're 75 grams of sugar, caster sugar, and 50 grams of butter. So I'm going to pop them in there, and at this point I'm going to mix these up together just to get them kind of mixed through before I add in my liquid. So I'll be right back. I forgot to mention I used my K beater part to mix the butter, sugar and flour together, and now I'm going to change to my dough book. If you don't have a machine at home, you can do all this by hand. So at this point you would add your dry yeast in here, because I wanted to show Maria, can you see, show people, this has become breadcrumb type mixture. Do you know what I mean? All the butter is incorporated in there, okay? But because I'm not using dried yeast, I have put my yeast in here and my sugar, and I've mixed them together with my fingers, and I'm going to add them in here. I've let it sit for a while so that they have been incorporated together. And I'm going to add 1 egg, okay? So pop that in here and just start the beating process again. So you put this on a low speed first for about a minute, and then put it up to the next level for 4 minutes to beat it all through. If you don't have a mixture, put everything together with a wooden spoon, bring it all together, and then I'll show you what to do with it when the dough is mixed on the machine. So guys, this is what the dough looks like after it has been in the mixer for 4 or 5 minutes, and it's all come together. It just looks like a lovely dough. If you don't have a mixer and you've brought it all together in a bowl, okay, you're going to have to just start stretch, pull back. Make sure your hands have lots of flour and your surface has flour. And what you're doing is you're stretching the gluten in the flour to make it rise, okay? So you're stretch, pull back, and just keep doing that for about 5 or 6 minutes, okay? And for those of you who have a mixer and you're ready now, you pop it straight into your bowl. I've lightly dusted my bowl. I'm just going to cover it with a clean tea towel, and I'm going to pop it in a warm place to rise. It should double in size for about an hour. Okay, so I'm going to leave that there. I'll just give my hands a quick wash. I'm going to show you what the next step is. The next step, while that is rising, is you're going to prepare your filling, okay? So what you do is you melt your butter. So I have, how much butter do I have? 2 ounces of butter in here. that I'm going to melt. And when my pastry is ready, I'm going to brush my pastry with the, my dough is ready. I'm brush my dough with the melted butter. In here, I have 60 grams of dark brown sugar. I have 2 teaspoons of cinnamon, okay? Key ingredient. And I have 4 ounces of pecan nuts. I'll type up whatever that is in grams for those of you who are not sure about ounces. So I already put my pecans in here into this Ziploc bag, and I literally just do this. Flash it down like that. That's all you have to do. Okay? Until they're nice and crumbly like. And pour them in here together. And give that a good mix up so you get your cinnamon, your brown sugar all mixed up together. And then I'll show you what to do that once our dough is ready to be rolled out. Okay, so you can sit back now and have a wee cup of tea. It hasn't quite doubled in size, but it definitely has risen a little bit. So I'm just going to let it fall out here. Yeah, it has got quite big. So I'm going to knock it back. See the way I'm puffing the air out of it. Sorry, that noise over there is Anna making herself roar. A little bit of coffee. She got some lovely Lavazza coffee for her birthday. So she is brewing herself a cup over there, and you can't ask the birthday girl to be out of the film, can you? Or out of the kitchen. Anyway, look down here and see what I'm doing. I'm knocking the air out of it, like that. And now I'm going to get my rolling pin, and I'm literally going to cover, I've already covered the surface with flour, and I'm going to cover my rolling pin with flour, and I'm going to stretch this out over and back. And this is kind of a hard thing to do because it keeps sliding along and moving, but eventually you'll get traction. Yeah, I have a nice rectangle shape here, and now I have my 50 grams of melted butter that I melted earlier on, and I'm literally going to just paint or spread out the butter all over here, because this is going to then be the base to hold the nuts and brown sugar and cinnamon mixture. Do you remember that we got prepared earlier on? So just lashings of butter on there, right around to the edges too, okay? And then I have my prepared mixture here that we did earlier on. I'm just going to sprinkle this all the way around. Nice and evenly if you can. If you don't like the whole brown sugar and cinnamon thing, you can also put in some mixed fruit in here. Like, you can still use the brown sugar and maybe just omit the nuts and the cinnamon and have raisins, mixed peel, and just drop them all on here. So that would be more like a Chelsea bun as opposed to a cinnamon roll. I suppose it's the difference in continent, really, isn't it? So I'm going to try and get it right to the edge, because these poor little edge pieces don't get much of a look in, and they will also be eaten. So the next thing we're going to do is just start rolling. Somebody has a big cough over there. Anna is studying for her exams. She has another one on Friday, and then that's her finished. So you just roll it all up like that. See the way I'm moving along from side to side to bring it all together. And the next part is the cutting part. Should I bring this back a bit, Maria?
Yeah, that's perfect.
So you're basically going to cut in like that, and then have your cinnamon swirl like that. I like to dip my knife in flour between each cut, otherwise it all just sticks. See? Just like that. Now I have a pre-prepared tin here. This is a springform tin that just pops, the lid pops off like that. It doesn't have to be. Sorry about that, guys. We've ran out of storage on the phone and it just didn't film me putting them in here, but that's basically how you put them in. You just put them in around sideways, and I'm going to let them rise again. I've lightly oiled a piece of cling film and I'm going to cover it again. The reason you oil it is in case the dough rises up, you don't want it to stick to the cling film. So I'm going to set that aside for about another half hour to rise again, and I'll be right back. It has risen nicely, as you can see. They've all come together. I'm going to pop this into an oven, 200 degrees, it's already preheated, for about 20-25 minutes, and as always I'll check halfway through and turn it around. While the rolls are in the oven, I'm going to make a nice glaze that's going to go over the top of them, and in here I have 60 mils of just cold water and 40 grams of sugar, and I'm going to bring that to the boil, and I'm going to boil it rapidly for about 1 to 2 minutes, and it'll start to get a little bit syrupy, and about 2 or 3 minutes before the end of cooking time I'll glaze the top, but I'll show you how to do that. This has been in the oven for 17 minutes. Look how much it has risen. So now is the time. I actually put a little bit sheet of tin foil over it after about 12 minutes because I thought it was getting too brown on the outside. So if you feel it's getting too brown, just put a little sheet of tin foil. And this is the syrup that I prepared earlier, and it has reduced quite dramatically, just to a gloopy kind of syrup. I'm just going to pour this, or I don't know what the word, brush this all around the top, and then I'll pop it back into the oven for another maybe 3 or 4 minutes, and that will give it a lovely kind of shiny look, professional look. So there we go, pop that right back in and give it another blast. I'll be right back. The glaze is just crisping up in the oven. I thought I'd show you how to make the icing topping. This is totally optional, you don't have to do it. But I have 70 grams of icing sugar in here. I think North Americans call it confectioner's sugar or something like that. And I'm going to pour just a little bit of water in here just to get it moving. Can you see that? You're always better to put less water in first. You can always add more, and it's harder. Well, it's not harder to add icing sugar. You can, if you add too much, just add more icing sugar, but it'll be wasteful. So just keep going, tiny little drop each time, and you're looking for a pouring consistency, but not too thin that it will just slide off the bun. That's still a tiny bit too thick. Just add another little drop. Oops, that is my oven to say that they're done. So that's another tiny little bit of water actually. And that's the consistency you want. Okay? Sorry, I'm not looking up at the camera. Just like that, kind of runny but thick. I'll be right back. Here we have our finished product. I'm just going to release the spring on the tin. Ta-da! How does that look? Amazing! Look how much they have risen. And at this point now, you get your mixture that we made earlier on. I'm just going to add it. Sometimes you have to add another tiny bit of water to it because it sets when you leave it for a minute or two. So just a tiny drop, and mix it up again. And then we're just going to drizzle it around just like that. It's not very pory, but there we go. See how nice that is? Beautiful. And there you have it, your wonderful cinnamon rolls. What do you think, guys? Nice treat. Just looks amazing. So I want to say thanks for everybody for watching, and I hope to see you all again soon, and have a lovely day.